So what is up, guys? Nick here, helping you to master your technology. iPhone 17 Pro Max versus the Galaxy Z Fold 8. Why I'm not switching. Now, before you get mad or whatever from me for saying like just say, well, are you kidding me? This thing does a fold. You know, it's cool and it's exciting and all that stuff. I'm gonna explain to you why I'm not able to make this my primary smartphone. It will be my secondary, so it is still getting a SIM, but it just can't go primary. And it's not for the typical Apple reasons. It's for some other reasons. And I actually think, while I know I'm going to like the upcoming iPhone Fold, I don't know if I'm going to make it my main either for some of the same reasons. Now, I've owned this phone for a week and I do have no plans to return it nor sell it because I think it's really fun to use as my secondary phone. But as a main driver, I'm going to explain some of the reasons why. Now, let's start with the very first one, and that is the height of the phone. So I love it for portability, but I have to say, as somebody who's really focused on productivity, I really don't prefer the height for getting things done on the front. But I can really see and understand why a lot of people really love this form factor, because for people out there who are just not on their phone, they're not trying to do a bunch of productivity based things, it does have some inherent advantages over some of the other foldable phones out there, including a wider keyboard, easier for texting and stuff like that. And so we definitely can do that very easily. Scrolling is easy, hitting to the top is easy. But for me, as somebody who's trying to split screen and do things productively on the front screen, or just have like a big screen right at the ready, this is not particularly my favorite front screen. Also, it is a little bit wide to reach over here to this side. To me, that kind of gets annoying. So it still feels like, even though it's short, like if you don't have big hands, this can still feel like you got to two-hand this phone, which to me kind of defeats the purpose a little bit of the phone being short. I do appreciate this design though. It's really, at the same time, the most fun form factor we've seen in years on a foldable phone. And I still think it's going to be the style that kind of resonates with the everyday person more, just simply because they don't want to carry a long remote style, like the regular Z Fold in the pocket, and then open it up, and you're just going to be on the main screen most of the time. So this kind of gives you more of that tablet form factor, especially when you go on the inside. But the thing I've been finding is that I'm always on the inside of this phone, whereas with the Z Fold 7, the 8 Ultra, I find myself not really using the inner display unless I need it. But this one, I feel like I always need it. So I'm always inside the display on this one, because the front display to me is just simply a little bit cramped for what I'm trying to do. And so that's something there. However, I do prefer the widescreen format for media content and when you start multitasking, because the triple split screen mode is way better on here than the regular phone. You can go ahead and put 3 across. So I massively prefer this on the interior display. I wish it was a little larger, honestly. Like, I wish this was like 8 inches on the inside and the same form factor. But at the same time, that would have made it a little bit less portable, which is not really, I think, what Samsung was going for. But if they did want to consider upgrading this in the future, they could just make this like a little bit taller and still stay with the wide form factor. I still think it would sell very well in that iteration. But another reason why is because something like an iPhone, and this doesn't have to pertain just to the iPhone. I have the same thoughts about S26 Ultra as well. But I'm using the iPhone here because it's the one I just kind of been too lazy to take my SIM out of this one. It's eSIM, so the transfer business. But the regular slab style, like the 17 Pro Max, it's just a lot more durable, in terms of like, especially this one, when it's open, it's still a foldable, so and they still give you the warnings, like it's still a little bit more delicate, and you still got to think about that, and that creates a little friction throughout the day, because you have to think, where am I placing? I don't want to drop it with it open because it's a little more delicate on the inside screen. And for me, that just kind of gets a little annoying to think about, but that's just foldables in general. That's not this one, so I'm not singling out this one, but that's just one of the reasons why I haven't been able to make the full switch. But like I say, as a secondary phone, I've been finding myself popping into this one whenever I need to do my split screen, whenever I need to do productivity. But on the front screen, I like having this huge screen at the ready at all times. And so, because this is kind of like what you're doing. You're opening up an app throughout the day. I want to see the weather. I want to see whatever I got to see. And I don't want to see it on a cramped screen. I want to see it like on this large display and stuff like that. I will say the keyboard is a little bit smaller here. It's a little bit wider on the Z Fold, but still, you know, this is still big on a bigger smartphone. But this just, and it could be like habit, you know, we're creatures of habits. So we kind of like have habits of what we're using, but I'm not really one who tends to stay in the habit. I do give things a lot of a chance here. But personally, I think I'm kind of leaning more towards the regular foldables, like the Pixel Fold, the 8 Ultra, you know, the Honor Magic V6, those regular folding phones in terms of a daily driver. But that's me. A lot of people I think out there would still really prefer this. Now, I will say that if you're trying to use a phone that you can pocket easily and you can just kind of forget it's there, this is much better, I think, than the other folding phones out there. Now, the reason I would definitely is not a reason to not switch, like I would switch, is displays, because I actually prefer the displays on the Z Fold 8. They do have anti-reflective coating on the inside, and if you use the anti-reflective screen protector that you can get with a pre-order or an order, you can order the Samsung anti-reflective for the front. The whole phone is super anti-reflective, so I actually prefer the display qualities of this phone. The crease has grown a little bit, but it's pretty much not noticeable when you're going about your day and you're just using the screen. It will grow the more you use it more often, but honestly, unless you're doing this looking in the light, nobody really cares. You're just going to be looking dead center at this, and I don't really think about it. I do feel it though when I'm swiping through, but it's just like a little dimple. It's nothing really. And it will get bigger after hundreds and hundreds of folds that you do, because you're basically putting stress on this area right here. But overall, it's been better than a lot of the previous folding phones here. It is a little bit less density on the inside, but still a lot sharper than some of the older folding phones. You're over 400 pixels per inch here on this interior display. So that's pretty good overall, I would say. And I do like how you can display a lot more content due to this. I understand that in this, the way it's scaled right now, it kind of doesn't show too much more, but you could actually change in the developer options to give you more of a tablet style in terms of you want to make the text a little bit smaller, for sure. And speaking of smaller, some people complained about that in some previous comments about the phone's text just feeling way too small. If you're coming from a larger phone, you got to know what you're getting into. This text is just going to look bigger because it's a massive, 6.9 inch display. Right here, you're going on a 5.5 for your daily front display. So it's going to look smaller. You're literally, it's reality. You're going directly to a smaller screen. Now, when I'm not really saying I'm not switching due to software, I actually like both of the software. I like the One UI, I like the iOS. So really, it's not about the software too much. For a lot of people, they say no iMessage, no deal. So if you're the type of person who's like, if there's no iMessage on the phone, I'm not buying, you kind of have no choice. You got to just wait until Apple launches the folding iPhone for sure. But one of the real kickers to this phone that I found is one of the reasons why there's no way I could make it a daily is the cameras. Now, a lot of people will say they're good enough, and for a lot of people they are good enough, but they're just simply not that sharp. They're not as great as like a regular flagship smartphone, yet the phone costs more than a regular flagship smartphone. This phone has cameras that I would say are comparable to like $600 to $700 phones, not $1899 level phones. So that is one of the things about this. Kind of reminds me of like when you buy a tablet and the tablet has the best specs in the world, but they put like a weak camera on it. They didn't go that weak because this is a smartphone and you're going to be using the camera a lot, but they did go a little bit lower tier than the a good amount lower tier than the S26 Ultra. So if you were looking for like an ultra level experience, the regular Z Fold 8 Ultra will give you the better 200 megapixel, but even then that one doesn't have the best telephoto reach and zooming quality as you'll find on some of the competition. So I think this is one of the areas where Samsung is holding back a little, and all they got to do is just put the best of the best in the game on the cameras for these, and they are going to do even better. So I wish they would give us like iPhone competitive like competing with the iPhone Pro cameras on here, on the front and the rear. Give us more of a wide angle on the front, give us a sharper overall imagery, and also further, reach better, especially on the zoom, because that's where this falls apart a little bit. So for that reason, when I'm taking pictures of my kid and stuff, like I gotta have the sharper camera. It's just gonna be, the memory is gonna be better with that, 18 megapixel front facing sensor is gonna be better with the 48 megapixel on the rear. We do have 50 megapixel on the rear of the Samsung, but down to the actual results, the sensor is actually larger still, opens and lets more light in on the iPhone. So this is gonna be the camera choice. Also, the video is a little bit smoother and better. And so I think camera is a huge deal for a lot of folks out there. And for that reason, it's hard to say that this is going to be the daily. And 18 Pro Max is probably going to remain my daily when it comes out, especially if they come out with that red rumored color, the dark cherry, because that sounds extremely exciting. I don't care what shade of red it is. I've been wanting to see a red since the Pro Max inception. They did it back with the product red on the, the iPhone 8 Plus, but they haven't done it lately. Now, the Z Fold 8 also doesn't have the best speaker quality here overall. So if you do like speaker quality, I would say go with a standard flagship smartphone. It doesn't have to be the iPhone, but standard flagship like S26 Ultra, this one, good. But where this phone absolutely destroys the iPhone is the versatility. So we can throw this thing into a huge screen this way, and we'll go ahead and be able to bring multiple applications. So you could have like the standard style Z Folds experience here. And also, if you're like reading something, it's extremely large. So you can like read things very easily in this portrait orientation. I found myself in this orientation quite a bit. And you'll just see a lot. You're also going to see very large ads as well. So if you don't like advertisements, you better find a way to, do that properly where you don't see them. In a way, if possible, maybe pay to not have those ads show. But this definitely looks much better in portrait. Now, if we go this way, you'll see that we do compact down a bit, but just having these large side-by-side passport style options, it's literally like very spacious to do these things. So multitasking is where this really destroys. Also in the area of media. So if you are watching media, and the final one is gaming. So for those three areas, I got to keep this baby around because I just don't want to do any of those things on the iPhone. But we're talking about a daily driver. What do we use our phones for most? Communication, quick searches, quick things. And when you're doing those quick productivity things, that front display, you're just always, if you like a big display on the front, you're always going to be going on the interior display of this one, which therefore lowers your battery life a little bit, but not too much, but still does so, is silicon carbon. Battery life is actually still better on the 17 Pro Max, but this is really good for, it's actually the best I've ever seen on a Z Fold experience. So it's very, very good. So I want to wrap it up there. I'm not able to fully make the switch, fully get rid of slabs yet. I want to see if the iPhone Max is going to be able to do that. I already know the Pixel Fold won't be able to do that because I've tried one before. And it's basically the same thing, just with the Google software on board. But with iMessage, FaceTime, all that stuff coming to the upcoming Fold, that's going to be another experiment. But if it remains in this form factor, it's going to have the same things I talked about here, a little bit smaller. And I don't want this video to come off like I'm bashing this device. I purchased this device full price. I love this device. I'm keeping this device. But the way I'm using this tool is for what it's actually good at, which is multitasking, gaming, and also portrait reading, as well as the media experience. It's amazing. But for me personally, I don't really love the front smaller panel. They could fix that easily just by making still stay in the form factor, but just make it a little bit taller. It would have a huge inner display. Like I could already imagine this form factor a little bit taller would give you more space, but also give you a huge interior display. That would be amazing. So let me know your thoughts about this down below. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Do you have a Z Fold 8? Do you have an iPhone? Do you have an S26 Ultra? Are you in between slab and fold? Do you not know what you're doing yet? Ask some questions. Let's talk about it down below and have a great rest of your Sunday. Nick here. Be sure to be well. I'll catch you on the next episode. And peace.